Hello, Grandmasters. Mike from the WCA. Welcome to the Week 4 update for our 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock students. This week, my friends, we're going on a little tactics run. We're going to be solving a lot of problems through the puzzle area in chesskid.com. I'm using an account that I think is starting in the 900s, and that's a pretty good start for us in terms of rating. And what I want you to do is be able to pause every problem when it comes up, because I want you to solve them yourself. Then what you'll do is you unpause and compare your solution with mine. If you made a mistake, then you can clearly learn from what I share with you, and if I make a mistake with the puzzle, then hopefully you guys can learn from me. All right, so together, by the time we're done with this video, we should have learned a lot more than we knew before we started. Okay, it's black to move. You look up here in the right corner, they'll always tell you to either wait for the computer to move, and once it does, it'll tell you which color you're playing and when it's time to move. All right. What to do here? Pause your video and then tell me what to do. Okay, here's what I found. Looking at the video right away here, or the puzzle, I see the two rooks staring at each other. There's a white queen pointing in the area of our king. We have a pin here. We have a knight that's pinned. And my first reaction was, as soon as the rook came here, was, well, I can just take that rook, right? But if we look a little bit deeper, we'll see that there's a rook up here hanging. This is a loose piece, a piece that's on the board without protection. So many of your tactical puzzles get answered by looking at loose pieces. Okay, another way to win these puzzles or solve them is to take advantage of pins. Another time, just take a piece that's hanging. In one move, we can take this rook. I think the correct move is to take this rook first with check, and if the white king moves straight down, this knight will be pinned. If he moves here, we can take a second piece with check, and then when we're done, pick up the rook in the corner. How's that sound to you? Okay, let's go for it. Okay, now you see over here it says correct, but the machine's not done with us yet because it wants us to play the best move in the position. Now, I could take this knight, which looks pretty good, but then the rook can take me with check. You see that? And then if my king takes back, the queen can swoop in and give a check, and before you know it, we have a headache. So I think we should just take the white rook. And it says here solved. I gained 5 points. I'm up to 951. I click next. It says wait. You can see up here on the right, your move as white. Pause your video and solve the problem. Okay, what'd you find, Grandmasters? For me, I realized that we're down a couple of pawns here, all right? They have two minor pieces and a rook. We have two minor pieces and a rook, but they're up a couple of pawns. But I noticed they have a little problem up here in the back rank. I wanted to take the rook here, but I see it's defended. What I noticed was if I give a check with this rook, they can't block with this rook because, you know, they can't. We'll just take it for free. So what are they going to do? They can't come out to f7 because of our knight. They're going to have to block with the knight. And if you can imagine this knight here, do you see this diagonal? So that kind of led me to think that rook check, knight block, and then come here, hitting the rook, going through, taking the knight. The rook could play a check here, and then maybe threaten to come to this square to defend the knight. But I'm thinking if they check us, I could put my king on this square, and they'll have some problems. The rook will be attacked. The knight will be double attacked. I think that's good. So I'm going to go for it. I'm going to play the check. The machine likes my move, but they want to see me continue. Now here's the cool thing to remember. Let's pretend this is a real game. My move is going to be rook to d6, a bishop to d6. I'm pretty sure that's what I want to do. But guess what? I have time on my clock. You know, I'm making a video for you, but I'm also pretending I'm in a real game, which makes this training, for me, it's more fun to do it that way. So if it's a real game, I might have 30, 40 minutes left on my clock. Why do I have to rush? So now what I'm doing is I'm double checking. Maybe there's a better move than bishop d6. I don't see it yet, but at least I took a look. So I'm going to play bishop to d6 and hope when I look to the right, the machine says correct. There it is. Now, they might check me. No, they didn't. They put the rook here. And again, if they checked, I probably just would have played king here. Now I can take the rook, and if the king, it's over now. They don't want me to play anymore. But if the king had come here, we could take this knight with a check and then play rook against knight. And that looks pretty good. Okay, let's click next. And I'm going to make this video last for 15 minutes. So we'll see how many we can do. Okay, your move, it's white. Pause your video. Okay, what did you guys find? For me, I was desperately trying to get in with one of my rooks, and it's going to be this one here. I would like to take this pawn check. That's not going to work. It's defended. Look at every check and capture. Queen takes bishop. Not going to work. No queen sacrifice here. There's only one check with this rook. It's clearly not going to work. So how do we create threats? My idea was to take this rook and put it on d7, threatening mate on this square. And I don't see a way for black to hold that position, because if they block or if they try to come to this square with their rook attacking our queen, that would stop queen takes bishop, but it wouldn't stop rook takes bishop. And I think that's a winning position. But please pay attention to this part. Before I play rook d7, I ask myself, what can this team do to me? I have to be careful. I mean, if queen takes pawn, king takes queen, there could be some double discovered check up here, although I don't think it gives black enough. But isn't it amazing how that stuff is hiding in the position? So if I just randomly move the rook and I look at queen takes pawn, or I don't look at it rather, I could get in trouble. Look at that, it's pretty cool, right? Queen takes pawn. I mean, I don't have to take the queen, but I don't know that I want to come out with my king. But if I take the queen, then they can move this rook with some discovered double check. But I don't know, I don't think they get enough for it. I think we're good to go. Let's give it a shot. There it is, correct. So the queen didn't go for that. Instead, the rook came down here, checks our king. We are going to get hit with this check, but here we can just take this rook here. That looks pretty good. Or can we just move the king? Maybe we can just move the king. Nah, I don't like that. Queen takes pawn here. I think we take the rook, and it says solved. They have enough. They have one check here with their queen, but they're going to be down too much material. But you guys see that was a little tricky. All right, let's move on. Okay, white to play. Go to work. So here, you know, there's sort of the possibility of rook takes pawn, queen takes, then some rook check, or just the simple fact that the queen and king are on the same line. So moving this rook here feels right to me. I don't really see how black is going to survive that position, so I'm just going to pin the queen, and it's correct. So the queen takes, check. We're in check, so obviously we take with a check, and the machine still wants me to move. Okay, so what do we do here? We have queen takes pawn check. That has to be good, no? I don't really see how black is going to get out of this. I wish Chess Kid would let us play these positions out until the end against the computer. That would be very instructive. So what do you think, guys? I don't know, maybe pause your video again? Yeah, I think I'm just going to snap off this pawn with a check, and I think my position's winning. Let's go for it. Okay, solved. Another 5 points. Click next. Remember, we're going for about 15 minutes. So this is an opening idea. This is from the Caro-Kann defense. This is pretty popular. So there's mate in one. I'm not even going to pause the video. Or, you know, if you need to, you can. But it's mate in one. This is an old trap from an opening position from the Caro-Kann, actually, after this pawn moves here. But we just, ouch, you know. Don't block in your king like that. Watch these knights. They're very, very sneaky. Okay, we picked up 8 points. The reason I'm only getting 5 earlier is because we're pausing. And the faster you play, the more points you get. But remember, the faster you play, the more likely you are to make a mistake. You might lose points. All right, click next. Wait. And it's white to play. Pause your video. Okay, so I don't know. What did you guys see here? I'm just looking at queen check. King has to come up. We have a rook check, forcing this rook into a pin. And then the possibilities of having pawn checks and maybe this bishop swooping down, skewering the king to the queen. And a little bit of calculation, you should be able to find that we're going to get this king out and we're going to get him into trouble. So how to continue? Got to be rook check or pawn check. I think the rook check is good first, and it says solve. Now think about why. You know, I'll leave this up to you. You can pause the video again. You know, this might be the only move. This rook coming up to the square, but yeah, I kind of see the end for this king. So anyway, you guys can see it too. Game over. Next. Waiting. Black to play. Ah, cool stuff. Do you think these pawns are going to have anything to do with our attack? I'd love to know what you think. Pause the video. Go to work, WCA. Okay, here, yeah, it looks like those pawns are going to work a little magic for us. You guys remember what it's called when there are 2 pawns side by side? That's a pawn duo. Some people will call this a mobile pawn duo because the word mobile or mobility means something that can move. So with a little bit of calculation, I see that pawn h4 is check. The bishop beautifully covers these light squares. The rook covers these middle squares here on the F file. So we're going to force that king up to this square, correct? When he goes up there, if we now check from here and hit this diagonal, he has to go in between his 2 rooks. So if we take 1 with check, I'm assuming the king is going to take us back. Do we win a free rook in the corner then? That'll leave us with a bishop, a knight, 5 pawns against 5 pawns, actually 6 for white, but they only have 1 piece, and this bishop doesn't look so hot right now. What do you guys think? You know, if you need to pause it again, do it. But I think that's a winning combination. Let's give it a try. Let me recalculate. Yeah, it looks good. That's 1. That's 2. Oh, look at that. He's not going to give us the rook for free. He's going to play a cute little in-between move. Boy, I didn't see that one coming. Wow, do we take a rook in the corner? Huh. Wow, that's a cool one. How do you like this sneaky computer? Okay, I think I found a different win now, and it's based on the fact that this bishop is without protection. So now I think we can take the rook in the corner, and if they take our rook, we can just take back with the king. We're up a piece. After we take the rook, if they take our bishop, do you see how we can win this bishop? Yeah, we just play a rook check and then take the bishop. I think that's going to win the game. So we take the rook. It says correct. If they take our bishop, they want you to prove that you see the double attack. King moves. You take the bishop and you win 5 points. Okay? I'm going to leave it at this because it'll be a 15-minute video. Please read the blog and compare it to what you hear in the video, and try to memorize the words that we use for solving these problems. Okay, good job, Grandmasters. Now go do this on your own. Get your rating up another 100 points.